welcome along to our final network meeting of the year. This is the summer term network, where we're kind of continuing with the theme today of looking at AI, machine learning. Essentially what we're going to do throughout the session this afternoon is I'm just going to share some professional learning updates with you. Following that, we're just going to have a quick dive into Microsoft CoPilot, which is available to you via the Hub platform. We'll then be joined by the team at Technocamps at 1:30, and they're going to be doing a session with us on AI and machine learning and how we can use the skills of AI and machine learning to teach within the classroom. We'll then be joined by Leon Hollis from eSports Wales, who's just going to kind of talk to and introduce us to the concept of eSports in schools, something that's on the rise now, particularly with the use of Minecraft in the classroom as well. And he's going to talk to us about some examples of where they've seen successes of that across Wales. We'll then be joined later by Hugh Morgans and Dan Powell from Georgetown Primary, who've been embarking on a really exciting project around 3D printing and the use of Tinkercad in the classroom. So they're just going to come along and share some practice and some examples of how that's been done effectively. And then finally, then around 3 o'clock, we'll be joined by Jonathan Rowe from Maindee Primary School, who has been working on developing some citizenship resources for learners in the early years. So that's the plan and the focus for this afternoon. As always, if there are any questions you'd like to ask, do pop them in the chat or pop your hand up, and I'm more than happy to answer them as we go through. So starting off then with the professional learning that's just available really for the remainder of the summer term. There's a few bits and bobs that I wanted to kind of highlight and showcase for you. The first up, the Apple Regional Training Centre have been running a number of sessions over the past term, looking at effective use of iPad in the classroom. The next session that's being run is on the use of Keynote for developing sort of digital artwork in the classroom. So how we can use things like the markup tools, the shapes, reference images to really develop art in the classroom. That session is on Monday the 16th of June and will run for an hour, 3:30 till 4:30. The booking link can be found there on the slide, so you should be able to click on that, and that will then open up a window for you to sign up if you're interested. Those sessions will also be recorded. And you can join the Apple Regional Training Centre team space to access all those recordings as well. So highly recommend. There's already recordings in there around GarageBand for music production, for podcasting, the use of iMovie for developing oracy and science. And I know there's a couple more Apple workshops coming up later in the year around the use of Freeform, and also the other session, which I've forgotten right now, I think is on the use of numbers again, so data handling and data handling in the classroom. So I highly recommend, if you've got iPads in the school or you've ordered iPads now ready for September via the EdTech grant, lots of resources on the RTC and the Apple Education community to have a look at. Second really exciting opportunity to highlight to you is an event that's taking place on the Thursday after half term. The Adobe Create Cymru event, which will be taking place at the ICC in Newport. It's a whole day event running from 9:30 till 3 p.m. And on the day you'll be kind of learning about how you can use Adobe Express, but also some of the more advanced features in the Creative Cloud suite to support teaching and learning in the classroom. Now, the bonus for this one is every teacher who signs up and attends the program or the course on the day will get access to the Creative Cloud license for a full academic year. So you'll get access to things like Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Illustrator, Animate, all the additional things that usually cost hundreds of pounds to sign up for will be given to you for free for the year. So if you're interested in developing your Adobe skills, whether that's for you personally in terms of creating content that you're sharing with your classes, or for your own personal development and things that you do in your home, or you're looking at how you could use these Adobe tools with learners in the school, and you've purchased some licenses potentially through the EdTech funding, then this event is definitely worth a look to develop those skills a little bit further. So again, if you're interested, if you pop yourself onto the forms link there and sign yourself up, I think there's around 60 odd attendees at present from across Wales. So it'd be great to see as many friendly faces there as possible. Okay, kind of cycling through the different offerings and different tools that are available to us via Hub at the moment. But those of you who are interested in developing your skills and knowledge with the Google Suite a little bit further, the Google Certified Educator Program is being run again now over the second half of the summer term. These are 3 virtual sessions on Tuesday the 10th, Tuesday the 17th and Tuesday the 24th of June, running from 4 until 5 p.m. So they are after school. But what that will allow you to do is develop your skills further in the Google Suite, and then Google and Welsh Government will fully fund then your voucher to take the exam at the end. And when I say exam, we're not asking you to recall loads and loads of information. It is open book, so you can refer to things, but just to test your knowledge of Google. And if you pass that exam, then you will be awarded the Level 2 Google Certified Educator award, which you can then put as part of your signature on your email. So again, if you're interested in signing up and developing your Google skills slightly further, there's a link there on the screen. You should be able to click on that, and that will take you across to the sign up page for that. Okay, again, lots of you are engaging with these. I know that they're really, really popular across our schools, particularly in the region. But there's a number, again, of live lessons that are going to be taking place now over the second half of the summer term. Not only are Adobe offering these lessons now, but there's also live lessons with the J2E team and also with Britannica Education as well. So these can be used in two or three different ways, I guess. The first way, I suppose, is around your learners engaging in the sessions, them developing their skills and being led by professionals and specialists in those areas. The second case then, I guess, is that you as a teacher or your teachers in your school might not have the skills or confidence to use these tools. So engaging in these live lessons will help them to develop that skill and that confidence. So really, really useful there. And the third way then, they are really good at linking to kind of topics and ideas and events that are happening across the world. So I know after half term, there's one for World Ocean Day, there's one for Father's Day, for Refugee Day. So those kind of lessons tying into topics and themes of those days, definitely worth having a little look at. I also know with the Adobe Express sessions that if you are able to evidence that you've engaged in them, and I think if you can get 100 children to engage in 3 different sessions, they will fund a pizza party for you. So essentially you provide them with the evidence and they talk you through how you can do that. A couple of screenshots of the work the children have done. You provide the evidence. They will then send pizza to the school, which I think, you know, as a nice end of summer treat is a really exciting opportunity for the learners in the classroom as well. Okay, the last thing I just want to kind of highlight to you all, and I'm just going to give everyone a minute or two to go through this. We're in the process now of planning ahead for the next academic year, looking at the professional learning offer. And I'm really interested in gauging your views and your opinions on what that professional learning offer will look like in the next academic year. We've had lots of successes with the professional learning we've offered this year and DCF, the Techno-Teach programs, the leadership programs. But I really want to hear from you around what you think needs to be focused on or what skills your school are particularly in need of support in. So if I could ask everybody just to take 2 seconds or 2 minutes, it doesn't take very long at all, just to scan that QR code on the screen there with the device that you've got and just run through the questions for me. I've also popped it into the digital network space as well, so you can share that with colleagues or with any of your friends as well. But if I just give everyone a minute or two just to go through and answer those questions for me, please, that would be great. And then once you've done that, if you could just give us a little thumbs up in the chat so I know that we're ready to move on. Just wanted to highlight to everybody, because I'm not sure everyone is aware or has seen that Microsoft CoPilot is now available to teachers in Wales via the Hub platform. Now, those of you who've seen or haven't seen Microsoft CoPilot before, CoPilot is essentially Microsoft's version of ChatGPT or Google Gemini, which is baked into all of their tools. Now, very recently, the Hub team have shared some information about the use of CoPilot Chat in Hub, and almost some information around why it is important to essentially use CoPilot through Hub due to the security and the data protection that is added around the school's enterprise version of CoPilot Chat. So I've popped the link there to the web page there, to the article for you to have a little look at. But essentially, by using CoPilot through Hub, you know that you've got that kind of rigor, you know you've got that security blanket around there, around how information is shared back and forth with the platforms, and it's not going off anywhere else to train any of those large language models. So I highly recommend you having a look at that. What I thought we'd do then is we'll kind of just jump into have a little look at the CoPilot Chat platform and just show you how to access that and how to get to it. So I'm just going to jump out of this screen and across to this one, and hopefully everybody can see the screen now. So hopefully you can see CoPilot. If you can't, just let me know and I'll reshare from there. But essentially, when you log into your Hub platform and you go to the Microsoft 365 application, you will then have access to CoPilot Chat, which is this tool here. Now that will appear on this toolbar here on the left hand side. So I've got it underneath my home button there. But if it's not there, if you head into apps at the bottom, you will see then that CoPilot appears as an app here at the top of the screen. Now what I've done is I've just clicked on the three dots and I've clicked on pin, and that means then that that app will appear in this toolbar here on the left hand side for you to be able to use. Now the great thing about having that CoPilot access through the Hub platform, like I said, is you've almost got your own version of ChatGPT or Google Gemini baked into Hub, and everything that you do now within CoPilot Chat will save, so you'll be able to go back and access your chats time and time again. To do that, on the right hand side, you'll see there's a little panel just by here, and if I click on that, then you can see all of the different uses that I've played around with in terms of using CoPilot within the CoPilot app. They've also recently released this option here called agents, and agents are basically the ability to create your own GPT or your own little large language model that you can use and interrogate based around however you've set it up. So we're currently playing and toying with the idea of creating some agents for schools and for you to use around school improvement, self-evaluation, curriculum planning and so on, and we'll potentially be looking for some schools to pilot the use of these tools in the coming academic year. So do keep an eye out on the digital network space and any information that comes out via the bulletin and via the information I provide in the network, because we'll definitely be looking for some schools to trial run some of the agents that we're going to create to see essentially what the pitfalls are, what the successes are, what the unintended consequences of those agents and how they can be used in the school. Now in the centre of the screen then, you'll notice when you open up CoPilot for the first time, then you'll get these 5 or 6 kind of starter prompts for you to use. And then underneath then I've got this ability here now to prompt or question or talk to the CoPilot Chat functions within Hub. Now, what it doesn't do is kind of go and interrogate all your data in your OneDrive. You need an additional license to be able to do that, which is quite pricey, but you do get quite a nice base level of chat function and chat features that you can use here within the CoPilot dashboard. Now this can be used for a number of different ways, thinking about things like writing letters to parents, curriculum planning, evaluating data, loads and loads of different ways that you could use this to essentially support workload, to make sure that planning is refined and so on. So let's have a little dive in, have a little look at how it works and see then, give you an opportunity to play around with it as well. And perhaps I'll set you all a little task. Now, the best thing to consider and think about when you're prompting an AI chatbot is the more information that you provide it, the better the response that you get. So if I was to just say to here now, write me a lesson plan for Year 4 Expressive Arts, it will give me something very, very generic. So I need to try and provide it with as much information as possible to be able to get back the best response I can. So let's start off with then and think about how we could use this for lesson planning. So I'm going to start off by giving the chatbot a role. So I'm going to say you are a Year 4 teacher. So telling it what it is, teaching in Newport, Wales. Okay, now the reason I've given it kind of like a place is to give it some context, because you're thinking about curriculum for Wales, thinking about making our planning relevant to the local context. Telling it where it is also really, really useful. So Year 4 teacher teaching in Wales. I need to plan, let's just go for a week's worth, so it's nice and easy. A week's worth of topic for my class. The topic focus is on rivers, and I would like to develop the humanities and science and technology AOLE within curriculum for Wales. So by doing that, what I'm doing is guiding it towards the information I want it to find within its large language model to be able to make sure that the planning that it's providing me is really specific and relevant to what I need to do. What I need to also do, I think, is give the chatbot some more context around the classroom. So tell it how many learners you've got, how many groups the learners are set into, what are the kind of different abilities within your groupings. And then when it comes to planning your lessons, it will take all of that into account. So let's do that now. So you have 30 learners split into 4 groups. Group 1 are more able and talented. Group 2, more able and more able. Group 3, average, and group 4, additional learning needs. So again, now it's got some kind of context around the class. So when it plans, it will hopefully differentiate that for us in a much more kind of unique way. I could also then say I need 3 lessons, maybe 4, that are around 90 minutes each and should focus on developing inquiry. So we're giving it more of a kind of focus of how we want the lessons to look like. The learners really enjoy hands-on and practical tasks, but also the use of digital technology. We have access to iPads and Chromebooks. And I could go on and on and on here by providing it more and more information about my class, about the needs of the class, specific resources that I've got, timetabling, do I have an additional adult in the classroom to support those kinds of things. So let's just keep it at that one for now. Again, I could go a lot more broad. Now, if I like this prompt here, on the right hand side, if I just pop my prompt in, and you can see it'll just start to generate then some ideas for me. What I can do is, if I don't want to keep going back to that prompt and typing that prompt in again and again and again, what I can do in CoPilot is I can actually then save that prompt and use it again and again. So if I just go back up to the top here, and we'll go through the content that's been generated in a second. If I go back to the top, and I see here when I hover over my prompt, I've got the ability to edit it. So I might need to change a couple of things in there that I wasn't happy with in the first place. I've got the ability to copy the prompt, and I could paste that out to a Word document or whatever I want to do. And you can see that the third option is that save prompt option. So I just click save prompt, and I could just change that to lesson prompt and hit save. What that will do then is, if I just go to this little view prompts option here on the right hand side, is it will save to my prompts library. So I can click on that. I can use that again rather than having to type it up every single time. So for example, if you're using it and you're kind of getting to a point where actually I've refined my prompt so much now that what it's providing me at the end point is really, really high quality, I don't want to have to keep typing that in. I know it works. It's refined. I've innovated it. It works. I can save that. I can click on it and just edit the context in terms of the topic, the area of learning that I'm using as I go through as well. You'll also note in that prompt gallery, there are a range of Microsoft prompts already there. So you can see rubric helpers, lesson plans, fun ideas for the classroom. If I scroll down then, I've got different sections around kind of essay essentials, tracking reading, lesson planning, loads and loads of stuff in there that you can play around with and have a little look at. So if we just quickly then run through what it's kind of given us, what is output in the end, you can see then that it's kind of taken the information that I provided it. It's highlighted that we wanted to look at humanities and science and technology within Curriculum for Wales. It's given us 3 90-minute inquiry-based lessons with an emphasis on hands-on learning and digital technology. And what I really like about it is more often than not, it will give you that kind of like big inquiry question for your learners to focus on. And again, that inquiry question could be generated by the children and you could feed that into the AI chatbot, or you can allow that to think about it and develop it for you. You can see then for each lesson, it's giving me the kind of learning objectives that I want to focus on. It's giving me some activities that I might want to do. And then it's kind of, because I've given it the differentiation in terms of the groups, it's suggested then some differentiation to me that I could basically take and adapt as I see fit. Goes into lesson 2 then, follows the same sort of process, and then into lesson 3. You'll also see at the bottom, and I didn't ask for this, that it's given me some assessment opportunities, things that I could actually do to assess learning in the classroom at the time. And then it gives me then a further follow-up prompt or question that I might want to focus on. So it's asked, do I want to create any printable resources? Do I need any templates that I can use in the classroom? And so on. What I would do now is I would probably go in lesson by lesson and try and prompt it to give me some more detail. So I could essentially just go in here and go, let's focus on lesson 1. It will then kind of say, okay, let's dive deeper into it. It will bring up that example for me then around the lesson. And then this time you can see it's actually broken down each of those activities for me. So here's my starter. Here's the resource that I might go and find and get. And here's some activities that I might want to do. Then for my main task, again, it's giving me the differentiation and the steps that the learners will need to complete. It's also suggested the digital tools that I might want to use. And then finally, then it's given me that kind of like plenary activity as well. Now, if I don't like any of that, I could just go back in now and say, oh, I'm not really sure about the digital poster. Is there anything else that we could do? It could be a podcast or film or animation or whatever. You can go back and forth with this as many times as you like until you've refined it to a point that you're really happy with what it's produced for you at the end. So I think the key thing to note here, when you're using anything like CoPilot, you might use ChatGPT, Gemini, TeachMate AI, whatever it is that you use to support your lesson planning, your human eye is the most important part of this. Making sure that you review the content that comes out at the end. Is it correct? Does it meet the expectations of your learners? Does it link essentially to Curriculum for Wales? Because it does say at the bottom here, AI generated content may be incorrect. And I've had examples of that, and you may have seen examples online where I think it was on ChatGPT, they were asking how many R's there were in strawberry, and it kept counting it wrong. And even when the user went back and said, well, no, there are actually 3, it said, oh, yes, there are 3. And then they asked the question again and it said, oh, there's only 2 R's in strawberry. So it's important that as a human, as a professional, we take that time to review that content. This has and will save you lots of time because it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you and actually then allows you as a teacher to really think about the pedagogy behind it. So I've got my ideas, I've got the lesson. How do I now teach this effectively in the classroom for each of the learners that I've got in front of me? So I just wanted to share that with you this afternoon because I know lots of people are using different things. Some people are paying for different tools. Some are using tools that are available via Hub. But that one is there for you. It's available to you. It's available to all of your staff and it's accessible to everybody. We will be running more specific AI training on the use of AI for curriculum development, for self-evaluation, school improvement, and for teaching and learning in the next academic year. And like I said, if you're interested in engaging any of the pilots, please drop me an email, and we'll be happy to share that and talk to you a little bit more about what that could potentially look like as well. Anyone got any questions or anything, or any observations around using CoPilot? Has anyone used CoPilot yet in school and had any impact of that?
Sean, the only question I have on that,
yes, Dan,
is we're using ChatGPT at the moment through value added.
Yeah.
So we're paying for that scheme there, but a lot of teachers still using just the general ChatGPT. Whereas obviously you put in, I think it's like 3, say, lesson plans, and it kind of times itself, or not times itself out, but you need to wait then a day to generate more ideas. Is this CoPilot you're just continuous, or will it will give you? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah, so obviously with ChatGPT, so you can sign up for free, so you can access that for free. One thing to note, if you are using ChatGPT, and this is, I guess, for everybody, is in the settings you can turn off data sharing. So if you're using it, you can go into settings and make sure that that ability to share what you're doing with OpenAI doesn't happen. So that's one thing to really be mindful of. And within ChatGPT, there are different models and different levels. So when you go into ChatGPT and use it as within the free functions, you're using a model called, I think it's called 4.0. Now you have a limit about the amount of prompts you can provide to 4.0. And then, like you said, it will time you out then for the next 12, 24 hours. I can't remember the timeline for it. You can still use it, but it uses a different model that has less information fed into the large language model. The information is more outdated than the information in the new models and so on. So you can do that. With CoPilot Chat, there is no limit. So you could go in here now into Hub and you could use that time and time again. And you know that the data isn't being shared or used to train any other large language models as well. So it's GDPR compliant. You know it's safe because it's within that Hub barrier.
Thanks, Sean.
That was a long answer, Dan. Apologies, but hopefully that answered your question for you.
Yeah, that's fab. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, any other questions or observations from anyone? No? Okay. Just before I invite Dan from Technocamps to jump in and share with us, there was one more thing I forgot to mention at the start, is that at present we're currently in the process of recruiting partner schools for the coming academic year, not just in digital but across all areas of the curriculum. If you have any interests in joining us as a partner school, we'd like to share practice over the coming 12 months. I'm going to pop the application form into the chat for you there. There's varying models, so there's kind of like 30-day support, 20-day support, 10-day support, and a flexible 5 days. If you think you'd like to get on board and do some sharing practice with us, maybe run some professional learning, please do click on that link and get in touch. I know a lot of you on the screen here have been offering partner school work in various different areas, but if it's digital or something you're interested in, please do reach out. If you want to have a chat about it, more about what you can offer before you fill in the form, and you all have my email, so please do reach out. It'd be great to chat to you about potentially what you could offer in the next year. Okay, I'm going to invite Dan now from Technocamps to present. I've just made you a presenter, Dan, so hopefully you can share your screen now. Dan and the team at Technocamps, as we know, have done an incredible amount of work with schools across the region over the last couple of years, and we're really grateful again to have Dan with us today to do some work with us on AI and machine learning. So I won't take any of your thunder anymore, Dan. I'll hand over to you, and diolch yn fawr for joining us today.
Fab, thank you very much, Sean. There you go. I'll just share my screen with you guys there. Oh. There you go. Can everyone see that? Hopefully. Fabulous. So great to see. I only caught the end of Sean's session there, but it's really great what's happening with the AI revolution, if you want to call it that, and the prominence that it's having on all industries right now, and education obviously is and will be included in that. We're not going to stay free of it. And there are a lot of questions with it, as I'm sure Sean has largely gone over, a lot of ethical questions, a lot of big questions surrounding AI and the use of AI. One way I look at it is it's out of the box, right? It exists now. It's in the world. Nothing has ever been put back into the box. Once it exists, it's going to carry on existing. It's going to carry on having more and more of an impact. And so we can either ignore it and shove our heads in the sand, or learn how to use it and learn how to be responsible with it and actually make it something that's a lot better, a lot safer, and so on. And one really important part of that, as far as education is concerned, is obviously we're using it, and many of us as educators are already using it to, as Sean said, help with lesson plans and things of the sort. Our learners, a lot of them are using it, especially when they get older and get higher. The number of GCSE learners that are probably a tad over-reliant on things like ChatGPT and CoPilot right now is concerning. But yeah, we're all using it, and therefore we need to understand how it works. And that is what we at Technocamps have spent a lot of the past couple of years doing, is trying to find out ways that we can help teach AI in a safer way, and just to help that understanding of how it works. And so doing this at a young level, and there are plenty of tools that we can now use to do this at a young level, is really important to help learners from a young age, when they're first getting into technology, to really understand what these tools are and how they work, because that will only make things easier for them as they grow up. And so what we're going to be doing today then is talking about machine learning in education, and specifically one tool that we found, which I would advocate as being the best way I found so far of teaching AI and broaching these subjects. There are many other good ones. Microbit have recently come out in the past year with their machine learning tools. So if you have Microbits, have a look into those. We also offer courses on them. So please do reach out to us as well if you'd like any more information on that. But this tool in particular, oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead in my slides. We'll get to this tool in a second, but this tool is, yeah, personally, my favorite way of teaching AI and broaching that subject. So yeah, machine learning is a tool, and it can be implemented across all areas of learning and experience, right? We can put it into any part of our teaching and find ways to adapt that to be cross-curricular and bring that digital literacy into all parts of the curriculum and all different topics in the classroom to help reinforce that learning and give them those essential skills. And digital literacy is an essential, if not one of the most essential skills to learn in the modern world, right? The technological requirements for our jobs, they're continually increasing. One statistic I like to throw out there is that the largest growing industry for jobs in the world for 20 years running at this point is software development and software engineering. It has grown year on year consistently for over 2 decades because none of us can stop spending time on screens, right? We're on some device or another. We're using some app, some game, some program, some website constantly. And all of those have to be made by people. So there is a very good chance that at least 1 or 2 of the learners in your class will go on to be programmers. And so giving them those early opportunities and advantages to understand these topics and grow and develop passion in these topics is really essential. And yeah, digital literacy itself is not, I wouldn't necessarily say decreasing, but as technology changes, we are seeing changes in the digital literacy of learners, such as many learners now having slight troubles with typing because they're so used to using devices that only have screens, right? We're typing on iPads and phones. And so the actual ability to use a keyboard is decreasing. So yeah, we need to make sure that learners are getting these opportunities. And so there are plenty of ideas. I just thrown a few together on the slide here of how you can use this particular tool that we'll be talking about to implement machine learning across the curriculum. But I could think of dozens of more ways that you could implement this in your lessons in however many different ways that you can think of. So yeah, today we're going to be using this program to develop an AI using machine learning. We're going to create our own AI that is able to recognize the work of different artists. I've gone with this one because it's a bit of a higher level one, great for maybe your 5 to 8 learners. But you could easily simplify this. And actually there is, in the slides, I've got another example of this program that we're going to make at a slightly simpler level. And I will provide Sean with those slides so that he can pass them on to everyone too. Okay, so what are we going to be using? Machine Learning for Kids is a fantastic platform. Some of you may have heard of it. It was developed by a primary school teacher in England. He did it in his spare time because some people have far too much spare time somehow. But he's developed this platform purely to be used within education and to help teach these topics. So it's a powerful tool. It allows learners to create and train their own AI projects and then use them in other platforms to leverage the power of their AI. This site in particular is using a particular machine learning algorithm that we call supervised learning. There's a few different genres of AI. Supervised learning is one of them and is probably the simplest one to teach. And in supervised learning, we have a model that we create and we provide that model with labeled data. For instance, you could have Welsh surnames and English surnames, and you provide them under the label of these are Welsh ones, these are English ones, and we give them lots of data of both. And then we ask it to identify the patterns that it sees in that data. Hopefully, it's able to identify the patterns correctly. And then we can come along and we can give it a completely new surname, Jones, and say, is this Welsh or English? And if we provided it enough data, then it should be able to recognize the patterns and understand that, oh, well, that's a Welsh surname. Ideally, that's the ideal scenario of how this works. So just a quick background on machine learning for kids. It is made for educators. Educators can make an account, and this allows you to save your projects. You can also then have class accounts, which you can use for the learners to work together on group projects. So you can have several different accounts that all link together and are able to work to make a singular AI across many devices. Bear in mind, setting this up is a complex process. You need accounts with IBM. You need accounts with IBM's AI side. So you need to get API keys. There's a lot to it. It's like 5 or 6 different accounts and API keys you need to set up and share. If you're comfortable doing that and you have a background in tech, then absolutely do feel free to do that yourself. However, you can request on the login page for the gentleman who made this to make the accounts for you, which he will then do. I've not done it that way, so I don't know how long it takes for him to get back to you if you ask him to do that. but it's an option on the website. So yeah, you can absolutely take that route. Learners are unable to make their own accounts for this website. He's made it for education. It's for educators. And yeah, he asks for an edu or hub or, equivalent email address to prove that you're an educator. What that means is learners can't make their own accounts, and their project, if they don't do it on one of your group accounts, will only exist for 4 hours. The idea being that that's half a school day, and so you could do this in the morning or in the afternoon. But that is more than enough time to make an AI and make something with that AI. We do this workshop continually ourselves, and we get this done in about an hour and a half. So 4 hours is plenty. We are going to, at the end of the session, take the AI that we've made and build something with it in Scratch. There are other platforms you can build with as well. But just to note, the Scratch project, if you were to do that, you can save the Scratch project and keep that locally. The only thing is when you open that Scratch project, it no longer has this AI to talk to. But all that means is that you can save the Scratch file with whatever fancy thing you've made, go back to Machine Learning for Kids, quickly train a new AI, and then when you open that in Scratch, load in the Scratch file that you've already made, and then it works. So you can sort of keep hold of things, at least the things that you build. It's the AI that won't carry over. Okay, with all that said, what I want everyone to do then, if you are planning on doing this along with me, or you're more than welcome to just watch for this session, but if you head to the website machinelearningforkids.co.uk, if you just Google machine learning for kids, it is the first result that comes up. And then on this website, we can click get started and then try it now. While people are typing that in, I'll also point out that if many of you, I'm sure, are probably from Welsh schools, this website is available in Welsh. We have translated it. So you can do all this in Welsh. You can technically even train an AI in Welsh, which is super cool. And we've tested and it does work. The only caveat to that is that for the English projects, it has access to the English dictionary. So it's got sort of 1 foot ahead of you and it already knows the meanings of words. For the Welsh one, it doesn't. And so you've got to give it a lot more data for those sorts of patterns to be understood. So that's the only caveat. But especially with group projects, you could absolutely make a Welsh AI using this website. Okay. Once you've headed to Machine Learning for Kids, I also, just to get a foot ahead, want you to head to this link, tc1.me/artists. That will take you to our cloud server where we store all our resources, and it will take you to a zip file that you can download from here. These are the images that we're going to be using in the session today. So you can just download that file and extract the folder ready to drag and drop them in. It's just easier for me to provide you with these images right now because obviously Googling for a lot of images is going to take some time and we've only got the hour. But yeah, in a classroom, what I would tend to do is have the kids research and go and find all their own pictures and get them all downloaded. And then once they've done that, you could even do that for the half hour before and then take them into making the AI and using all those images. Okay, so yeah, tc1.me/artists and just download that file. There we go. I think, yeah, at that point, I'm going to go off my slides and head to this website with you. So this is Machine Learning for Kids, and we can just click Get Started. The language is in the top right if you need to change that. And as I said, if it is your first time here, right, you can sign up as a parent or teacher. And he gives you the option on that page to ask for the class accounts. So that is the easier way to do it. Or for now, we're just going to click try it now. And honestly, this is what I tell the learners to go home and do anyway, because it's so easy for them to make their own AIs. And if they're interested in this, they can have so much fun doing this. And I'll go through some of the other stuff at the end. Okay, so this is our project page. We don't have a project because we don't really have an account. So we'll click Add New Project. And I'm going to call it Recognize Artists. Doesn't particularly matter. And the project type is recognizing images. Now, yeah, we can recognize text, which another cool one you can do here is recognizing authors. Again, probably more suitable for slightly older learners, but putting in quotes from different authors is a great one you could do. Or you could just recognize single words. Yeah, numbers and predicting numbers, getting a bit mathematical with it, but you can do some cool stuff there. Or recognizing sounds. You can literally make a cheap version of Siri using this website. Okay, so recognizing images, and for storage, just in the web browser, because we're not going to reopen this project in the cloud, would allow you to do that over many machines. Okay, once we've done that, we click Create. And that's just setting up what type of AI we want to be building. Then we click on this project now that we've created it. And these are the 3 steps to a supervised learning AI. We have to train the AI by giving it a load of data. Then we have to ask it to learn that data, and hopefully it works and it, actually spits out right answers. And then we turn that AI into some functional program, right? You train ChatGPT on the entire internet, you get it to learn and find patterns that it's found across the entire internet, and then you make the ChatGPT shell for people to actually go and type in and use as a product. So we're going to click Train. And again, a lot of this website is nice, boring white backgrounds until you start adding your own stuff. So we'll add new label. And if anyone has downloaded that data already, they may have seen the 2 artists that we're going to add. So supervised learning, we need to give it labels. And I like to think of these as buckets. It's a bucket where you chuck a load of information on a particular topic. So the first bucket I'm going to create is Van Gogh. And I'll click Add. And there we go. So I can either enter links, webcam, which is useful. You could have them actually hold stuff up in front of the camera if that's easier. Load in files, or draw pictures. That's a good one, especially with younger kids. You could even, using this, maybe add all of the numbers 0 to 9 and have them all do their handwriting and make like a handwriting recognizing AI. Just an idea. Okay, so first bucket is at Van Gogh. Adds new label and call it Picasso. And so these are our 2 buckets. And it tells you quite clearly at the top what it's going to do. It's going to recognize images as Van Gogh or Picasso. That's the purpose of the AI. Can it tell the difference? So now you can click on File And in that zip that you've unzipped, there's two folders, testing and training. Testing is what we'll do at the end, right? When we test it on many images. Training is how we're going to start. So under training, I'm going to go to Picasso and select all of these images, and upload. And I've just uploaded all of them to the wrong one, haven't I? Delete all them. I'll add the Picassos because I went to the wrong one first. I'll add all of the Picassos, upload. And on Van Gogh, I'll do exactly the same. File, training images, Van Gogh, and add all of them. You would have also probably noticed the two additional folders as well, Van Gogh additional and Picasso additional. There is a good reason for that. We won't do them a sec, but we'll come back to them in a bit. So that's it. That's it. It is just that easy. Obviously, if the learners are having to find their own pictures, that's going to take a bit longer. That's going to extend the length of that lesson. Or if they're doing a text one and they're typing in their own words or their own sentences, that can also take quite a while. With this, you need at least 5 in each box. It's because supervised learning is looking for patterns in at least 2 things. You can keep adding labels, by the way. You could have this recognized 5 different artists if you wanted to. But it needs at least two buckets of labeled data, and it needs at least 5 examples in each so that it can actually try and find a pattern. So that is like your base level that the learners have to reach before you can move on. So yeah, I tend to make that clear in a workshop of do one, then the other, one, then the other, to make sure that they are consistently adding. And yeah, and another fair point there is what would happen if I only had 5 Picasso images and 25 Van Goghs. Well, I'm giving this AI now a bias toward Van Gogh. It's been able to find a lot more unique patterns in Van Gogh than it has in Picasso. So by adding different amounts of data to different labels, I can create internal biases in the AI. So it's a good idea as well to try and keep those buckets even. Anyway, once we've added all our Van Goghs and all our Picassos, we can click back to project and move on to the second step. We're going to learn and test these images. So learn and test. And it tells us what we've done so far. We've collected 15 Van Goghs and 15 Picassos. And we can just click train new machine learning model. And this can take up to about a minute. So I like to take this opportunity then to start explaining to the learners what's actually happening here. So this is now not being run on your computer. This is being sent off to the Watson supercomputer at IBM in California. Watson, if you don't know, is the world champion at chess and Go. He has beaten all the world's grandmasters. And so that's where this data is being sent onto a supercomputer, which is already equipped for making AIs. So that's the good thing here, is that, you know, we're not making an AI from scratch kind of thing. We're not making a program with the ability to learn, because that's the difficult part of making any AI, is that initial programming, making this neural network. all we're doing is training it on data. And so there we go. It tells us our model's available, it's trained. It usually tells us when it will be deleted as well, which should be in 4 hours, but that doesn't seem to have come up. And we can test it, but I don't know if this is just my computer being a little weird here, because there should be a button for file as well. So maybe this has come up on yours. But I will just Google something by Van Gogh. There we go. Let's go with a Starry Night. Copy the image. There we go. We'll just test it with a link. And there we go. It's 94% confident that that is an image by Van Gogh. It's taken us very little effort to do that, but our AI has managed to learn the patterns that it has seen. It's looked at the images. It's looked for all these different patterns, what colors are used, like how, the pixel variations, very, very complicated mathematical properties of these images, but it has recognized them.
The drawing one, Dan's quite good as well. I just had a go at drawing the sunflower one, and it picked up 81% confidence that it was Picasso, which I thought was quite cool.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, I got to be honest, I've never actually tried it myself. I have told the learners to do it, but I don't have much belief in my in my ability to draw. What should be interesting though is if we search one of the ones that we've trained on. So let's go The Dream by Picasso. And the problem with images is I don't know what image I've used. And obviously it is a picture, so it's quite possible that this won't work the way I want it to right now. Let's say at least medium. I've lined this up now as something that should go really well, and I'm now doubting myself. But let's see. So I'm going to test that image. It has worked. Fantastic. So it is 100% confident that that is Picasso. Why? Well, because it's in the training data. It has seen that exact pattern. It knows 100%. It knows with 100% certainty that that is an image by Picasso. So these confidence levels are also something that's interesting to talk about. And it's interesting. You're hitting on that cross-curricular again, because it's a number line that the learners may not have come across before. Because what does 100% confidence with Picasso mean? Well, 0% confidence with Picasso is down here. But if you're 0% confident it's Picasso, that doesn't mean that you're 100% confident it's Van Gogh. 0 is the middle point. And then you've got 100% Picasso, 100% Van Gogh. So this is a number line that goes like it's 200, 100 in each direction. It's 200 long. It's either 100% confident one side or 100% confident the other. Anything in between that, even if it's only 5% confident that something is Van Gogh, well, that still means that the AI is leaning toward it being Van Gogh. It thinks that it might be that one, but it's not confident at all. Okay, so yeah, that's it. We have made an AI. Our AI works, and it is demonstrably working for us. So now we'll click back to project and click on make. And this is where the kids start to think it's really cool, because you can now take this project into Scratch. If you were doing the text-based AI, I think there's 5 different platforms that you can take it into now. There's App Inventor, Python is one. I don't know. There's quite a few different options for this. Okay, I do apologize. My computer is automatically in Welsh, so I'll change that back to English. So I'm sure many of you have seen Scratch. Some of you may not have come across it before. That's completely fine. So we'll go through making a simple program here to leverage our AI. But one thing you'll notice is at the bottom now, we've got these blocks which clearly don't belong to Scratch. It's not a circle, it's the little machine learning logo. And so our AI has now been pulled into Scratch. So we have the ability to use it in this project. And so we're going to start off by deleting the cat. Generally, always delete the cat with a Scratch project. I think I've ever actually made a program using that cat. And down here with the little cat with the plus, we choose a sprite, but we're not going to click on this. We're going to go up to upload sprite. And I'll upload a sprite. And what I should be able to do here is go to my testing, and I'll add all of the Picassos in. Don't do that. Don't do that. I was worried as I was doing that that's exactly what would happen. Ignore me. I'm being silly. I can't do that because it's going to make lots and lots of different sprites, and that's going to be very, very annoying. So that's not what I want to do at all. What I want to do is, again, go down to the choose a sprite, but just click the paintbrush. Just click the paintbrush so that you're taken into this costumes window. And you're not going to paint a sprite. You can if you really want. But what we'll do is, yeah, choose sprite, paint. This will take you to this window. And on the left-hand side now, we will go down and upload costume. And now, this time, we can select all of those images by Picasso. And there we go. And now we've got all the images, but they're contained in a single sprite, which is a lot easier to deal with. And then, once again, we'll go down, choose a costume, upload, and I'm going to add all the Van Goghs from the testing folder. So I should end up with a sprite with 30 different costumes. So these are all the images that we're going to use to test. So our AI, we've uploaded all the training data, and now via Scratch, we will do all the testing data. Okay, so hopefully you've had time to do that. Go through quickly once again. Paint, that takes you to costumes, choose costume, upload costume, and then select everything from the testing folders. It's important that we don't use the ones from the training folders because they will, they'll all be 100%, right? Because they've been used to train. Oops. Okay, back to code then. So as with most Scratch projects, we're gonna start this on events when the green flag is clicked. So I'm going to make it nice and simple as we can for a project, because I don't want it to be overly complicated. But when the green flag is clicked, what I want to do is, well, make sure my sprite is showing. So it's a good idea to put something like this, the basic logic of a program in, because if I accidentally hide the sprite, suddenly my program won't work. So I'll make sure the sprite is showing. And I'm going to go to the next costume, which means first time I run it, I'll skip the first costume, but it's fine. We'll cycle back round. So I'll go to the next costume. And then I'm going to say, if else from control. So if some condition is true, then I'm going to do this thing. If it's not true, I'll do this instead. And thankfully, because we only have 2 buckets, we only need this one. If we added more labels, then we'd probably need more ifs. So we could say, if it's Picasso, if it's Van Gogh, if it's Michelangelo. So I'm not artsy in the slightest. I'm struggling with artist names. If it's Williams, there you go. So if some condition is true, and now comes the trickiest part of this program, is thinking of how we make that condition. So I'll recognize artist blocks. We've got this block, recognize image label. Now, this is the important one that we usually want to use. This is sending off an image to the AI, and it's saying recognize the label. The label here is the name of the bucket. Remember, we're sending labeled data. So recognize this image as either Van Gogh or Picasso. The other one, which your learners will very often grab because they look almost identical, to be fair, is recognize image confidence. This one is asking the AI to give it that percentage. How sure are you of something? Now, this is a very useful block for making our program even better, right? Because we can have a third option that says, I don't know, like you could have it say either Van Gogh, Picasso, or I don't know. So it is a good one to use. But tell you what, we'll keep it on the side because I think we're going to have time to actually make use of it. So we'll just keep it on the side demo, but the main one is the recognize image label. And then we have these 2 options, Van Gogh and Picasso. Now, as I said, because we only have 2 buckets, then we can be like cheeky and simple with our code here, because if something's not Van Gogh, there's only one other option. It's Picasso. Like, we've only given the AI 2 options. We could have added a third bucket called every other artist and just put 100 different pictures from 100 different artists in there. But we didn't. We've got 2 buckets, Van Gogh and Picasso. So if it's not one, it's going to guess the other. It's only got a binary choice. So I'm going to get rid of Picasso. I'm only going to check for Van Gogh. If it's not Van Gogh, must be Picasso. And under operators, I've got this equals block. So equals 50. Again, with these, especially on Chromebooks, if you've done Scratch in the class, these symbols look really small on a Chromebook screen. And so it's very easy for the learners to accidentally grab the more than or less than. So just something for you to be aware of there. And so I'm going to drag in these 2 blocks. If the image is recognized to be Van Gogh, then do something. If it's not, do something else. Fab. The only thing I need to do now is actually say what that image is. And I can find that under my images blocks. So down at the bottom, above recognize artist, we got the image blocks, and I'm going to drag in costume image and put it where it says image. So if my costume, send that to the AI, is a Van Gogh or is recognized to be Van Gogh, then what should I do? I'm just going to, again, keep the program as simple as we can for now. Under the looks blocks, I'm just going to get the image, the costume, to say Van Gogh. If it's not Van Gogh, I'll get it to say Picasso. And that's it. It's a bit more in depth than the Machine Learning for Kids website, which was, well, personally, I've been doing it a lot though. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a very intuitive, easy to use website. A little bit of tricky setting it up, but once you just add in the data, like just go for it, add data, and then click the train button, and you're done. You've got a working AI. This, you have to think about the code a little bit more, but as compared to a lot of Scratch projects, this is also fairly simple code as well. The only tricky part being thinking of this condition, right? But this condition, no matter what AI you're making, it's probably always going to look the same. Recognize whatever type of AI you've made, recognize text, recognize image, recognize number of the thing you want to recognize. You want to ask what the label is, and is that label equal to one of the buckets? It's always going to look like this in almost any project you make. Okay, let's test that out then. I'll zoom out here just to keep this up on the screen if anyone's still putting that together. And if I run this, there we go, it gets sent to the AI. It's a fairly quick response, and it correctly identifies that as a Picasso. Picasso, Picasso, Picasso. And this is where it gets interesting. And this is my favorite part about this particular project. And you can see the same thing happening across many different ones. But I was very careful in selecting the images for this. And this one doesn't match the rest of the Picassos. I think this is actually the first image that Picasso ever sold. I think when he was about 18. But that doesn't look like a Picasso. It's almost a completely different style. He hasn't come up with his style yet. It's a landscape for one. So it recognizes it as a Van Gogh. And to be fair, if you saw that, would you recognize it as a Picasso either? That's another one from Picasso. Another, again, it's a bit more strange like Picasso, but it's also a landscape. It's not a portrait of someone. So the AI is again wrong. Picasso. Picasso. Okay, let's get them right again. That is a Van Gogh, right? I think that is a Van Gogh. Oh, maybe it's not. Oh, maybe that was another Picasso. And again, interesting. Van Gogh didn't draw a lot of portraits. So when you give a portrait by Van Gogh, it guesses a Picasso. Doesn't help that the eyes are a bit all over with Van Gogh's portrait there. Okay, so yeah, we've got an AI that successfully recognizes images from two artists, but it's not perfect. It is not perfect. Just quickly then, you don't necessarily have to do this, but just to show you what you could do with this confidence, I'm going to go down to control. I'm going to grab another if else, and I put this in the top part. All right, so if some condition, then it asks, is it Van Gogh or Picasso? And so my new condition is going to be if confidence is more than 50. So if recognize the image by confidence, again, it's the costume that I want to recognize. So if the confidence level of this image is more than 50%, then check if it's Van Gogh or Picasso. If it's not more than 50%, say, I don't know. And there we go. Now we've created a way that the AI can be honest as well and tell us if it's not sure. So Van Gogh, Picasso. Is it? I haven't actually tested this out today, so I don't know if it will get less than here and give me an I don't know. It might not. Maybe it's always quite confident. Yeah. Okay. If it's only if it's more than 90, let's be quite nasty with it. There we go. Okay. So now it doesn't know whether that's Van Gogh or Picasso. That is a Van Gogh, isn't it? I think. Not sure. But yeah, so yeah, you could do interesting stuff with the numbers as well, right? You can mess around with those. You could have it do many different things depending on how confident it is at something. But yeah, this gives you a lot of, I mean, there's countless projects you can make here. You could make this do anything you want. Like, it's really in your hands the way you choose to use this within the class, whether it's recognizing images and making a program for that, or recognizing whatever. Okay, well, I've got 5 minutes left then, just to show you the few other bits. For instance, what was in those folders. So this is safe, okay? As I said, I can save this. I can save that, download the Scratch project, and then I can open it again whenever I want. Open that up, and the project's there. The only difference is in 4 hours' time, this recognize artists won't work anymore because the AI won't exist. Which means what I would have to do in 4 hours' time, there you go, I'll actually close this. Let's get rid of that. And back on machine learning for kids. Now it's the next day. I've just made a new AI. I've gone through the process. I've trained it, and I've just clicked on make. I open it in Scratch 3, blank project, but I'm going to load from my computer. Sorry, it's back in Welsh. Upload that Scratch project. And then what I would have to do here, because it's a new Scratch project, I'll pull out these machine learning blocks, and I'm going to replace them with the machine learning blocks from my new AI, the one that I've just created. So I replace them, and now I can run it and it works again. So I can keep hold of the code if I want to reuse that in future lessons. Also means that if you just want to do a lesson about making an AI and you don't care about the coding, then you can provide the learners with this project and just have them open it and test it out like that. It gives it a lot of flexibility. So that's one thing that you can do. The other thing you can do is this AI, Scratch is independent of the AI here. It's just asking it for information. So the AI still exists over here. I can go back to my project. I can go back to the training. I can go, oh, you know what? I think it wasn't good because I was very naughty with the pictures I chose. And all of my Van Goghs are all landscapes, or at least they're not portraits. And all of my Picassos are portraits, bar from 2. So I think I need to be fairer with the data. So I'm going to go to my files and I'm going to find more training data that I happen to just have ready. And I'm about to do the same thing, and let's Van Gogh first. So I'm going to add a load of new Van Goghs, this time including a lot of portraits. And over here, I'm going to go and find a load more Picasso images with some more landscapes and different sorts of pictures. And I'm going to add them as well. I'll go back to my project. I'm going to go back to learning and testing, and I'm going to retrain this model. So now this is the same model. This is the same AI. Okay, this isn't the same as deleting it being deleted in 4 hours. This is the exact same. It's the same model retrained. What I mean by that is that you don't have to do anything with Scratch. Scratch is now just going to speak to the brand new model. So I can keep running this. It's still a bit unsure.
Dan, would you have to upload the costumes again then, or the additional costumes?
Oh, no. So those additional costumes, you could absolutely go and find more additional costumes, but you don't have to. What I'm doing here is testing on the same 15 costumes of each. However, what's changed is now there is more training data. So it has more data to understand the patterns, which means it should get these images right more often, basically. And if we go back to the ones that we know it had wrong, it still recognizes a Van Gogh. It's not perfect, but AIs aren't perfect. And the funny thing with this, right, is that it is just recognizing patterns on the fly. You've all done this at the same time, and it's entirely possible that yours will answer differently to some of these questions, because that's just the nature of it. It all depends on how that training went. And it's a black box that we can't see inside of. We don't really know how it works. The computer just does it by maths and magic. And it finds the patterns. And then we end up with things like ChatGPT. But yeah, it could end up differently every time. It can very much end up differently on different learners' devices. Because they are all independent AIs. This is not a singular. It's not like I've trained this once a couple of years ago, and now it's always going to work the same way whenever anyone hands this data to it. It won't. It will do it fresh every time. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to show. You can program. You can save those programs. You can go back to the machine learning for kids. And you can add new data, you can delete data, You could do whatever you want. You can add a new label if you want. If you add a new label, even though it's still the same AI, Scratch won't update to have the new blocks. So it is in that case, you would probably need to reload the Scratch project to have the third artist that you didn't have at the start. Just something to bear in mind there. But yeah, you can keep messing with that and you could do loads with it. Okay, fab. Just to show you, just very quickly before we finish, these are our projects. This is what we've made. If you go to worksheets at the top here, these are all worksheets developed for use on this platform. They are worksheets for your learners, and it takes them through what they need to do step by step to make all of these different AI programs. Pac-Man's a really good one. You play Pac-Man, and within a few turns, you'll never win again because the computer learns exactly how you play the game. So that's depressing. But yeah, it's got the project worksheet for the learners. It's also got guidance for teachers, which helps you prepare it as a lesson and helps you prepare how to teach this as a topic. These have all got this, right? There's countless lessons that you can find in here. It is such a fantastic resource for teaching AI and teaching how it works, what's actually going on in the background, and hopefully your learners come out of it with a much deeper understanding of what an AI is and why an AI can go wrong, right? Why it can just mess up, because it doesn't know facts. It's just trying to do some matching of patterns, and that's not perfect. Okay, yeah, brilliant, fab. Thanks, everyone. I will get those slides to Sean, as I said, so you can all at least have our version of that session. And yes, take that as a jumping off point. But yeah, make some great stuff with this because there's so much to do.
Dan, thank you very much. I think there's some really key points there in terms of, you know, we often go in and get children to use AI through Adobe Express as an example, but this is a good way of actually teaching them how it works. I think often we jump into using things before we actually teach them the underpinning, particularly with coding. We can follow a tutorial, but do they understand really how that works? So they're really useful, and I'm sure colleagues on the call today will definitely have a look at those resources and take them forward to the class.
Fantastic. Cool. Thank you very much, Sean. I'll kick it off with a little intro and then I'll pass it over to John, the CEO of eSports Wales. If I briefly introduce myself and my role, I'm Leon. I am the project coordinator for Caerphilly, and I'm responsible for delivering a lot of the eSports Wales Academy around the Caerphilly County Borough, also extending beyond that. Very briefly, for those who do not know who we are, what we do, or even the terminology eSports. Esports refers to competitive gaming at the highest level. You can compare it in a sense to like the Premier League, for example, where gaming is like the Sunday club that everyone has access to. Obviously, gaming is equal to that, and then esports is the top level. However, we work with two pathways focusing on showing people the opportunities that's available. One side being the pathway to the industry side of things, right? And the other side being, of course, the competitive side of things. I'm going to hand over to John in a second, but I'll talk very briefly about what I've delivered specifically in Caerphilly, especially in an education sort of niche. We've delivered something called eSports Wales Academy, which shows people the career opportunities and the transferable skills that they can develop in esports. As you can imagine, when you go into a school setting, for example, and ask people who's interested in various sort of creative industries or creating businesses, etc. You'll have a couple of hands here and there. But if you ask who plays games or who's interested in gaming, every kid throws their hands up and their eyes glow up and they're super invested, right? For example, I've delivered the eSports Wales Academy now in, for example, Rumney, a couple of other schools as well, Idris Davis up in Rumney as well. And we've hit quite a broad sort of demographic of children who are various ages, for one, but also studying quite a few different subjects. There's a big emphasis when it comes to the esports industry on the creative industries, and we've had students who are, of course, from the esports courses. However, we've also had game devs, coders, we've had art students, media studies, you name it, it's applicable. And we've had really good response and feedback. I'm going to pass it over to John, the CEO of eSports Wales, for him to introduce who we are, what our objective is, as you can see on the screen, and what we do specifically when it comes to education.
Cool. Cheers, Leon. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Yeah, I'm going to run through this really quickly because I know we're short on time and there's a lot potentially that can cover and you could do in schools. Like Leon mentioned, we've got two pathways, and I'll go into those in a bit more depth. But who we are, if you don't know what esports is competitive video gaming. It's from sort of, could be on mobile phone devices, can be on PCs. Now it can be on augmented reality. It can be on virtual reality. It can be racing sims. There's the eSports Olympics coming in 2027, which is part of the IOC. It won't be Wales competing, but it'll be Team GB, and we'll be sort of feeding into that avenue. But we do have a national team that plays on various different games around it. So who we are with the national governing body for esports within Wales, to support grassroots all the way up to the professional level, aim to improve the standard, increase awareness in Wales, and then aim to provide opportunities through tournaments. And when we say opportunities for talent, it doesn't mean just playing. Like football isn't just kicking the football on the pitch. Esports isn't just playing a video game. It's the whole industry that goes around it. You've got the commentators, the videographers, photographers, graphic designers, social media, the digital aspects of like the sort of running of the kit, the servers, sort of managing, making sure you've got the DevOps side and those side of things, the game development, the coding, and then you've got the sort of creative industry side, like I said, the commentators, videographers, graphic designers, that side of it. And then you've got sort of sporting element, which is coaches now, nutrition plans for the top level gamers, fitness plans for top level gamers, and sort of building those sort of three cycles. So esports fits really well in the middle of those. So I won't come through the sort of our guidelines that much. I'll just touch on them really quickly as we're going through. So as we're going through this, we want esports, the Welsh esports aligned at all levels. So that's, we're looking at sort of from primary school to all the way up to our national team, and having that sort of clear pathway, whether it's if you're working in the industry or whether if you're playing in the industry as well. We're trying to align with Digital 2030, Cymraeg 2050, and the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act. So we're aligning with Welsh Government in a number of those, as well as I said, the Olympics team. We're trying to get the clear pathways, as I said, for player experience, improving that as well for sort of health and well-being, giving the right guidance to players and parents. So some of you sort of students might be turning around and saying, well, they spend all night gaming. What we're learning now is that it's gaming in the right way if you want to be the best player, not how much you game. Like if you want to be a professional runner, you wouldn't just go out and just run. You would have a sort of a guideline on when you do your running. If you're doing 5K, you build up to that 5K and doing it in the right way. And now we're seeing that within gaming as well. So it's creating those sort of clear pathways where you're increasing the sort of supporter element of it, and that's growing year on year. So getting more and more people engaged. So as Leon said, there's a lot of people doing that and getting involved in esports now. We go into classrooms and where we sort of go, how many people football and rugby playing it, maybe half the class goes up, how many people game. We have like 90% of the class, sometimes even the teachers are putting their hand up. So it's a super inclusive way, and it's growing year on year. Yeah, so why esports? What we can do in here, we've got community development, we've got the streaming and academy sides, the sort of offshoot. There's employment support. So most of our clubs in Wales are looking for volunteers. There's opportunities for some of your sort of older sort of students at your schools or your staff to then sort of volunteer within these clubs to get more and more people involved and doing it like you would your football and rugby clubs, local scene there. We run esports events, so we'll be here next week. We'll be in Taboil, we'll be in Philly Fest, we'll be in Eisteddfod, we'll be in other events. We're doing stuff with WRU, we're doing stuff with FAW. So there's loads of events sort of running as well that sort of some of these students can get involved with and sort of building it from that side. And our sort of main goals is developing more talent, whether that's playing or whether that's sort of working in the industry. This is a UK study. I always like to throw this up because I think it sort of opens people's eyes a bit on where esports is going, or where it's going to come from and where it's going. So this is a UK study based on top 20 sized engagement for sports on the left-hand side. That's all the population, so all age groups. If you look at that one, especially for Wales, I find it very worrying, is rugby union's the number 4. Sort of a big rugby fan myself, growing up in Wales. But looking at that for the Gen Z, so 18 to 24, rugby union's not on that list. Esports is their number 8. So you can see where esports has gone from not even on that list to number 8. And as we get in more and more generations coming through, more and more of them are gamers, as in sort of you play esports titles. So we can see that increasing year on year. Football, we've got FIFA linking in with it. Boxing, we've got VR boxing. Formula 1, we've got racing sims. Basketball, we've got M2K. Cycling, we've got Peloton. Even cricket, we're talking to. So if you even look at the top sports above esports and that, they've all got connections with esports as well. So those are going to be sort of increasing the esports activities they do. So when you're looking at the size of sport within Wales, esports is going to be quite big and continue to grow over the next few years. Most of you should get to reach out to me, and we can send you across pack. But we've got a benefits for esports posters, which can be put up in classrooms to give a good idea of sort of some of the benefits of esports and how we can sort of develop in Wales. That includes also the job roles that could potentially be connected with the esports industry. So yeah, if you haven't had any of these, feel free to reach out and we'll send you a pack with a couple of flyers, stickers, and things like that from esports. So Leon touched on the pathways, which you mentioned. I'm just wary of time, so if I'm getting close, please feel free to cut me off. So yeah, these are the pathways. This is the pathway to industry. Interested, they could be playing in our Discord. Our Discord, also, well, all of our volunteers, including our staff, are DBS checked within the Esports World's Discord. We do have a 16+, just because of safeguarding, but it is a place where people can go, get advice, get guidance, and then play in sort of a safe environment as well. We have there's BTECs and UALs currently. There's other sort of qualifications as well being developed within esports, which can be delivered at level 2 and level 3. There's university degrees now, and then there's the esports leaders, which is level 3 with Esports Wales. It's a 16-hour. I think it's a 6-credit qualification with Qualifications Wales, which is, if you're a Go-Red Centre, you'll be able to deliver that qualification within your institute to some of the learners. The idea being is the esports leaders is really good for CBD, but it's also not just good for training. It's a good way to sort of create a benchmark with the industry, and that's what you have in football. You have football leaders. The esports leaders is a similar sort of avenue, and it's that benchmark which we can continue to develop people through that. There's loads of volunteering opportunities. You can see those as well on Esports World's website. And then freelancing, we probably employ about sort of 60 to 100 freelancers across a Welsh Esports League season, as well as doing some stuff around bringing people in and sort of talent development, which moves into full-time employment. Playing-wise, you've got community nights, give it a try nights, school and college. You've got the Welsh College Cup. We are looking to launch Welsh College Leagues in 2026. So the idea is from September now, we look to start supporting some of the schools in sort of building into these leagues to then be ready for Jan 2026. We've spoke to Hub and PSPA, so now you should be able to have access through the councils for the games which we're going to run. And then it's just a case of sort of getting them set up and then entering the tournament and getting the teams ready for that. You've got the pathway then from that to move into university leagues which you run, and then you've got the Welsh Esports League. The Welsh Masters is our qualifications for players for Wales. and then playing on the international stage for Wales. I'll skip through these. So this is the esports leaders, which I mentioned, so that can be found on the website under the courses. But if you're doing it through a Go Red Centre and one the level 3, it'd have to be run through an official Go Red Centre. These are some of the stuff which we offer already for schools and colleges. It depends on the area which you are. So as eSports Wales is a non-for-profit, if we can get grant funded to cover, we look to provide a lot of this for free. If we can, if we can't obtain grant funding within that area, normally we try to sort of run it as low of cost as possible to a school or establishment to sort of build in that. Some of the stuff like the tournaments, we'd look to run those for free entry as such, but then some of the other things like the actual delivery or the esports leaders, there might be a small charge linked to those. Also mentioned that. If you're looking to run this, we've kind of created a pathway from primary school all the way up to national team. For the primary schools, we're probably looking at the Switch 2. It should be released I think it's early June. The reason why we picked the Nintendo Switch is it works with Digital Schoolhouse and the coding stuff within game development. But in doing so from that, it's a very good way. The primary schools yet won't have the sort of the internet connections in place and might not have the security access out. So doing so, the Switch will probably be a better solution for that, where you can play things like Mario Kart, Splatoon, Smash Bros, and a few of the other games which you can develop those skills. Then moving in from a secondary school side, we're looking at sort of a number of PCs. We'd say 6 because Rocket League's 3v3. Most of the games are sort of 5. There is one which is 6. So having 6 gaming PCs as a minimum is probably going to be perfect to run that. If you're looking for suppliers, eSports Wales has a number of suppliers which we sort of are aware of, which provide things. We'll be able to provide 3 or 4 suppliers to you, so you can get a fair cost then across the board, especially if you're looking to tender or something like that. We will sort of give you a couple of ideas from sort of gaming suppliers which will be able to deliver something which is up to standard and be able to run these games for a number of years. For it, the registration will be through the eSports Wales platform, which at the moment is hub.esportswales.org, but because of confusion with hub, then what we're looking to do is rename that and rebrand it as platform. So that'll be coming soon, as in the name change. But if this is our membership directory, so if you player registration on there, there'll be things like DBS checks for coaches, esports leaders and qualifications for coaches. So if anyone sort of is coming to the school and saying they want to coach you or do something like that, feel free to sort of make sure that they've been checked by eSports Wales, and you can do that through the hub profile and checking it from that side. From this platform information from GDPR, this is owned by eSports Wales. All the data is kept by eSports Wales and not shared by to anyone else. If it is shared by anyone else, that'll be in the agreements which we sort of write out. With it in regards to it from the school point of view, we would only look for the school or the teacher to sign up on behalf of the school, and if the students are under the age of 16, we wouldn't require them to sign up to the platform. The teacher would just be able to put in either player names or would be able to just put in sort of player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for that school when playing in the tournament. Cool. And then feeding from, if they're post 16, they're able to play in the Welsh Esports League, which they're able to play for their sort of local clubs. We've gone in the last 2 years from 0 to 20 clubs within Wales now. So yeah, they might be able to move into a professional club and then moving into the national team. We're also doing a number of events as well, which I mentioned, which are growing year on year. So diolch, thank you very much. That was a really quick run through. So I think we've got a couple of minutes left for some questions if anyone wants to ask some additional questions while me and Leon's here. But if something pops into your head afterwards, feel free to drop one of us a message and we can come back with some more information on things.
Diolch, John. Diolch, Leon. Just a quick question in terms of sort of primary delivery. Do you see lots of schools kind of starting off with it as a kind of extracurricular offer. So they're running it as a club, perhaps after school every week, where you're just kind of developing how that looks. Because I know lots of work has gone in behind the scenes with PSBA and with Hub to make it accessible to schools. It's just, I suppose, now how do you get that off the ground in a way?
Yeah, so the stuff with PSBA and Hub, they'll start off as secondary schools rather than primary schools, and it's why we mentioned about the switch. I know schools are sort of, all of them are looking at it in regards to sort of costs. This could potentially be a big cost, especially if it's not going into directly going into the sort of delivery of a course. At the moment, I would say that's definitely looking at sort of some extracurricular stuff. So one is the Minecraft Cymru League. It's a really good way to sort of engage in creativity from primary school level, which runs from January as well. So the Minecraft Cymru, what it is 6v6. You would have 6 machines, which runs Minecraft Education. Most of the schools have that already installed. We know that runs through the sort of security systems in place. But yeah, in doing so, that's a really good way to do it. Also, one of the benefits I find with that is you don't have a school versus school, and then both of them at the end of the sort of match have created something really cool. So it doesn't feel like, you know, they've lost 20-0 or something to another neighbouring school. Where we're looking at the switch to, the idea being is that what we tend to do, especially for a younger demographic as well, is what we'd probably look to do is have like a local school tournament, like you said, an extracurricular thing, where it could be a Mario Kart tournament or Smash Bros or something, and then trying to do some eSports Wales activities in the local area where we can bring all the neighbouring schools then together for a like Mario Kart finals or Smash Bros finals, or 2 of those run in the sort of the end of the day. So it ends up then allowing the sort of primary schools to get together with sort of secondary schools or colleges in those areas then to sort of grow the scene. But then that clear pathway that if someone races in Mario Kart, that's their sort of, for us, we're looking to link in with genres. So that's a racing game as such. So they might play Mario Kart sort of at a earlier age, and then as they sort of get older, that's moving into potentially like F1 sim racing at sort of a further down that route, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Has anyone got any questions in the chat, or they want to just jump in? If not, big thank you to Leon and John for joining us this afternoon. I'm sure you guys will share your contact details with me, and I can put those in our team space for people to get in contact if they want to find out any more information or to engage further in their school.
Okie dokie. So yeah, as Sean sort of said, that we've been part of what has been a brilliant project in Blaen y Gwed, where the primaries and secondary schools were gifted a 3D printer. This was done through a scheme. So there's our school context bit. Georgetown Primary School, small, well, medium-sized primary school in Tredegar, and they're a mainstream school. Blah blah blah. I don't think anybody needs to know too much detail about us, but it's there if you needed to fancy reading through. There's myself, I'm lead of science technology, and Mr. Powell, who's lead of digital, and then the 2 gentlemen from year 6 who are going to be joining us and hopefully taking us through some of the actual dynamics of the things that we need to use. Tinkercad is a computer-aided design program that has been brilliant and works very, very well for designing and printing 3D models. I strongly recommend that if you can get your hands on a 3D printer, Tinkercad is probably the best way to introduce that to your class and set up a classroom. Learners can then use it individually with their login, and they can create sort of any item they like, and they can sort of then easily print it and see the fruits of their labour sort of in front of them, which has had a really positive impact on pupils. I think that a big sort of plus of the project has been sort of seeing the sparks in creativity with different learners, and seeing that sort of that creativity, those sparks. It's had a huge impact on our pupils in year 6. There's no doubt about it. In sort of that enthusiasm for learning again, it can link to just about any topic, because basically if you can think of something, you can basically print it. There's no real limits to it. We've used it in quite a sort of closed off way at the moment, but have sort of bigger plans to expand and sort of grow how we're going to use it. when Coleg Gwent originally trained us and were, handed over the hardware and things, one of the projects they delivered was the castle project, where children and pupils had to design their own castle. And I think I've got some images of that somewhere. Here we are. You can see on the left-hand side. So they begin by drawing their images on Tinkercad, and you can see on the bottom side over here is the classroom. So the teacher has control of Tinkercad and their classroom and all of their pupils' projects and things. You can check in regularly to sort of keep them on task and make sure you can see what they're drawing and creating in 3D. Hopefully, Josh and Harrison will show you a little bit about that in a second. But just in terms of pupils and problem solving and that creative element, you could design elements that, say if your caretaker's got a problem and he needs to redesign a new part for something, they could quite easily 3D print that, or any component or any part of anything. As long as they can draw it on Tinkercad, effectively, they can design and create whatever they need to do. The things that you'll need are the 3 elements that you've got on the screen here. So you're going to need to download Tinkercad, which is a really, really child-friendly tool. It's very, very simple to use, and the boys will show you that in a second. You'll also need Cura. Cura, we have to speak to our IT administrators to get it input on different devices and things. Very simple to do. It's a little bit more technical than Tinkercad, but basically all you do in Cura is you open your 3D design from Tinkercad in Cura, save it to a memory stick, and then you print it on the 3D printer, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there. The machines to buy, this one's quite a high-end one. We were lucky enough, obviously, to be part of the Coleg Gwent, Blind and Gwent Hive project. I think they're about £2,000, which I know is steep, but we are sort of spreading that and passing that now across and around the school. And there are so many benefits to it, things that we didn't even expect, things like children's attendance and things, all sorts of little soft benefits to that spend if you had to make it. Obviously, we were one of the lucky ones. And rather than me sort of harp on now for ages and ages, we're going to hand over to the 2 gentlemen who are going to give a really, really brief demonstration because they have to disappear very quickly. But they're just going to go through a little bit and show you how to use Tinkercad and how to use Cura to just create, I think it is, boys, just a basic quick keyring design.
Yeah.
Coming in there, gentlemen. And I think you are on that tab there. No, you're on that tab there. Oh, there you go. Over to you. Jump in.
So, as you know, my name is Harrison. And my name's Josh. And we're going to show you how to use Tinkercad. We're going to show you how to use Tinkercad and how to import into Cura, and basically how to use 3D printer. So, Josh is going to do the talking right here, and let's just start. Okay, so first you want to open Tinkercad, and if you're a teacher, sign in with your email. And if you are a student, sign in with your student account using your class code, which is safer and that the teachers can then see what you are modeling. So then you want to create a project and make it so it's a 3D design. And then what you want to do is you want to go to, on the side, there is a thing called basic shapes, which has loads of categories, but we're going to stay on basic today. So what you want to do is you want to scroll down and then find the brown heart and then drag that in to Tinkercad. And now what you want to do is we're going to add some text to that. And we are going to make it say Tredegar, since that is where Georgetown Primary School is located. And now you want to scale the text to the size that you would like it to be in. And make sure that it fits inside of the heart so you don't get overhang, which is when the printer will turn into spaghetti or you make the print take longer. And then as you can see, currently we have a heart. And now what he's going to do is he is going to get a cylinder that will create a hole in the heart so you can put it on your keys. So what he's doing is he's currently scaling it down to the perfect position and height where he wants it to be, and making sure that it looks good. And don't worry, that cylinder you won't be able to see once it comes out of the printer. So next what he's going to do is he's going to click export and export as an STL, which will make it much better to use and easier. And we'll set its name to Tridiga Heart. And now it's on to me for the device.
Nice. Very good. Nice.
Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of talking here now about Cura, and yeah, let's go. So what you're going to do is you're going to click File in the top left-hand corner. You're going to press Open Files. Now you're going to select your downloaded STL file from earlier, and
I can see the arms there.
okay, so we're having a bit of some technical difficulties.
Go back to open file, boys.
Should we just? So we're just going to pick a different file from later in the year. It's a dog, but something went wrong with the other file, so it'll work for this.
Usually the design that you've created in 3D in Tinkercad will just pop up. I'm not entirely sure why it hasn't, but you can download all kinds of different shapes and things, and yeah, all sorts of designs. So
this was probably downloaded.
Yeah.
So we're going to scale this down to the right size we want. You don't want it too big or it'll take too long. You don't want it too small or you don't. So there's one really important step to 3D printing. It's support, strength, and adhesion. So with infill density, you want to set it to a medium percentage, because too high can make it stronger, but it'll be the print will take too long. So, and too small would do vice versa. So you want it on a medium type of percentage. So yeah, you've got 10 to 25%. And now you have infill patterns. There's loads of different ones you can pick from. There's a variety, but the best one is Lightning because it's the quickest to print. For supports, for big prints, you want tree supports. But if it's just a small print, you can just select normal. And placement is for default just everywhere. And adhesion is normally set on just at all times. And you want to slice your print after you've finished all your settings. This can take a few minutes depending on the size and how many settings you fit on. So it shouldn't take too long, but yeah.
Oh.
That sometimes happens.
Okay.
This does sometimes happen. Yeah, we've had another error, which is quite normal, and it's just to do with the fact that this is the first time we've used Cura on this specific computer.
Just whilst that's slicing, boys, can I just say, first of all, thank you for your really clear demo and kind of taking us through step by steps. And usually when things go wrong, and adults do this, when things go wrong on a computer, we often panic. But the way you kind of just calmly went, it's okay, we'll just go and get another design and check that in there. Really, really professional. So well done for your demo so far. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
There we go.
So now yeah, it hasn't failed this time, luckily. It's taken about an hour and 6 minutes, which is a normal time for the print. And normally you would save this to a USB stick and put it into the printer, but we don't really have time today for it. But you can simulate the print in preview and see. It's a bit of an advanced feature, but you can see how the printer slowly does it, like slowly, like
yeah, a bit of a walkthrough in terms of the adhesion on the bottom there, which ensures your print doesn't move, and then it just builds the layers layer by layer.
Yeah, layer by layer, like a wall.
You can also see points that your print may potentially fail at, and
see,
they're the supports that they put in place.
The reason any blue is either adhesion or supports, and
They
red
come off easily, don't they, afterwards?
Well, yeah, but you can also use a hairdryer that makes them come off instantly.
Does help, yeah. Okay, boys.
Yeah, I think that's all for us today.
Thank you very much, boys.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Have a nice rest of your day.
Diolch, boys. Thank you so much for that.
Right, I'm just going to jump back in. Hang on a second. Okay, so. Okay, dokes. Let me just share my screen a minute. There we are. So yeah, as the boys were saying there, we've got the 3D printing. You need those 3 key elements: Tinkercad, Cura, and then I don't know if you can see that little portal there. That's your USB. No problem. You literally plug your USB into that portal, and on this little screen, you just scroll through. It's touch screen. Scroll through, tap on your design, and away you go. If I can do it, I'm pretty confident most other people can. I'm not massively digitally literate. It takes me a little while to get used to things. But it is really, really, really straightforward and simple. The top bit, don't be put off by the top bit. That's literally just an air filter, basically, that stops things overheating. All the sort of printing and action takes place on the bed here. And as you can see, that basically is just a copy out of the print bed. It's really, really simple process. It works pretty well most times. There's a 90% success rate on most prints we tend to get. We've used it. One of the problems we found was that we had a really, as you can probably just tell, a really good core group of digital leaders who were able to pick up those skills really, really quickly. They were super interested in it and really enthusiastic. But we sort of used it across the curriculum there with literacy links and writing instructions, and we produced a booklet as well from this. So the pupils had to use their sort of knowledge of Tinkercad and Cura to then kind of build a set of instructions for other members of the school for, to promote their learning and things. But genuinely, it can fit into just about any topic. The creativity. What I can say now that Josh has left the room, throughout this year, he's had major difficulties with his attendance, and this project and getting involved with this for him has been huge. And his attendance is right back on track. So in terms of sort of your health and well-being links as well, it's been absolutely brilliant for him. These are some of the examples of the things that we made. We displayed all of our different castles as like a little village and a town, and we created a different sort of set of scenarios and rules and things that went alongside the village and the town. They were desperate to print a dragon as well who lived on the mountain, so you could easily promote sort of quite a lot of literacy from this as well. We also printed an award, a digital leader award. That was quite cool, and we're able to switch over the PLA, the plastic, for different colors. You can print them really, really easily, and you can just slot them in. It works really, really simply. And we've just, I know this is a downloaded design. These design castles are ones that pupils have built themselves from 3D shapes, as the boys showed you. Some of these then are downloads. This one here is a download. We're just learning about silence at war and things, and they wanted to look more closely at they were desperate to print a Spitfire model, so I allowed them to. But genuinely, you can print just about anything. Our next sort of progression with this is to use it, as I said earlier, so that we've got a bit more purpose to it. So it's not just a random group of castles, and your instructional writing did have a purpose, but I think the actual thing that you print, the components that you print and design, have got more of a purpose. Are you designing a new door handle, or are you designing some sort of aid for children with dexterity issues? Or it can literally be as open-ended as you want it to be. There's not many limitations to it, and it's been really eye-opening and great fun actually to be involved in it. Just going to sort of hand you to Dan for the final sort of links and skills.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go over the digital skills and the DCF and just link that what we've done for 3D printing, the technology alongside Tinkercad. So both staff and pupils have successfully embedded this essential skills throughout the digital competency framework into our planning and practice. So obviously you can see there we are 6 have used our project. We can try and embed that throughout now Key Stage 2. This approach has enabled meaningful cross-curricular links and learning experiences where sometimes I think staff struggle to kind of find ideas to link in the DCF and the digital skills in other kind of areas. So you can see there, obviously, I've listed computational thinking, pupils are engaged for sequencing, pattern recognition, interacting and collaborating. So the collaboration within class, like Hugh mentioned, attendance itself, bringing children back into the classroom and wanting to learn now. Fostering communication and the teamwork within this kind of project has been fantastic. Creating and refining these digital content then for the children by planning. They go to paper first. When we had the college in, they did paper kind of based design before kind of going into Tinkercad, which is nice again because they can refine them skills. Speak to Mr. Morgans and myself about kind of ideas they can bring into Tinkercad. You can see from the boys there, their knowledge there is phenomenal and kind of far beyond mine at the moment. So again, reflecting, it's been fantastic. He was just gone for the literacy there, and again, then problem solving and critical thinking. So from us there, it's kind of been a real kind of cornerstone for digital and DCF and developing them skills. So I'm going to end there, Sean.
Yeah, me back in the room.
Both.
No
Does
problem.
anyone have any questions for Hugh or Dan on anything they've shared this afternoon? I know you were saying obviously the price for a 3D printer is quite high, and you were fortunate that in Blind and Gwent you had obviously the funding to do that. I know that there are cheaper printers coming out now. I just had a quick look online. One called the Bamboo Lab, BAMBU, comes in at about £420. So they're becoming more and more accessible, I think. And I think what you were saying there around, you know, you could apply this in many areas of the curriculum, but that authentic link to, you know, creating something for someone who needs support, or it could be like a, you know, thinking about eco, could they be creating a disposable straw holder or something along those lines that just makes it real authentic but has a purpose behind it, is a really exciting thing to be looking forward to. So
yeah, on that as well, Sean, with the PLA reels that they use, they last forever, to be honest with you, but I think they're just about £10 a reel, and as I say, they go forever and ever and ever. The amount of prints you get out of them, we're nowhere near sort of even completing one reel yet. We've printed stacks and stacks and stacks of things. So, you know, it's not a huge financial burden or anything like that. And this, I'm sure there would be grants and things that you could access to be able to afford and buy these types of 3D printers. And I'm fairly confident the Hive project with Blind and Gwent and Coleg Gwent is also run by Welsh Government. I think it's through the Levelling Up Fund. So I'm pretty confident that they now have to report back to Welsh Government to see if that funding model and the program model is rolled out in other areas as well, not just Blind and Gwent. I'm fairly sure they're looking at the broader sort of South East Wales consortia and other counties and things as well. So watch this space on that. You may well find that in a few months or, you know, whatever, you might end up with a 3D printer yourselves as well.
Fingers crossed, eh? Diolch, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so like Sean said, I'm gonna very quickly, because we have our last meeting in about 15 minutes, quickly share what we've been working on in terms of developing digital citizenship through literacy. I've worked alongside one of my colleagues, Sarah, at Maindee, and I'm just going to talk you through how we've used some of the picture books that I'll be talking about to build on literacy skills and embed in key messages about digital citizenship. So I'll start with the why, really. So I met with Sean and we were talking about how a lot of the time, well, both things really, literacy and digital citizenship can both be taught in isolation, really, as discrete skills or standalone lessons. I think especially digital citizenship, I think sometimes that can be quite a tricky thing to then link to another area of learning. But through then starting this project and working on this and then using some of these resources with my children, we found that especially these picture books, obviously that's the reason they've been written as I go on to the ones that we've used, it'll make sense. They make a really natural link between the two things. We've noticed they've allowed the children to practice their literacy skills of speaking, listening, writing, performing, but then also while engaging deeply with their digital behaviors and their choices that they're making. So the books that we've used are the free books that are free completely. We chose those mostly because Sean asked us to use these books, but the reason why is that they're accessible. The children really like them. When we've used them with the children, they think they're really funny. And they're packed full of different digital dilemmas that the young children can really understand. They are, however, then written like the traditional tales that they're based on. So they really support the literacy and then some personal and social development as well. So trying to decide which books to use where, we decided on Chicken Clicking for reception, and then Old MacDonald Had a Phone for year 1, because these texts have lots of rhyme, repetition, and simple narrative patterns that the children could really understand. They support their early phonics sequencing, and there might be some new vocabulary in there for them. And then as a school this year, we've worked quite closely with a lady called Helen Bowen, and we've worked lots on our children's oracy skills, and they lend really nicely to that. And then for year 2, we went for the other 2 that are there, and we've done 2 different ones for year 2. The one we've done more as a writing project, and then again we've then done the other one as more of an oral retell, as opposed to feeling like everything's got to be written down in their literacy book. We've also then paired that into Pi Corbett, who we use a lot at Maindee to fuel our literacy. So hopefully when you look through our different things, you can see that. So in terms of the documents that we've created, we used the EAS literacy documents to begin with as like our setting off point, really. The ones that we looked through all had a clear breakdown of the expectations for oracy, reading and writing from reception to year 2. So we've then used those to help us work out what we want where. Like I said, we've used Pi Corbett's Talk for Writing framework to make sure that the lessons that we've planned are progressive. We've referenced a little bit of Helen Bowen. We've not done that as much because not all schools will be quite as familiar, but lots of the strategies that she talked us through on our training that we had with her are weaved throughout them as well. And then obviously the core texts themselves, like I said, have been chosen because they provide a rich narrative that we were able to then base a literacy genre around, really. We've then also used this, like I said, so as you read through the different ones, the reception one is quite just a simple recount. It says a familiar story. Obviously, you'd have to read that a few times to get them familiar with it, but that one's more of just a simple recount. And then when they get to year 1, they start to innovate a little bit, and then the 2 in year 2, one is more of just a retell, and then one is an innovation on one of those texts. So like I said, we've then used those to create a detailed scheme of learning. So some of them have about 5 lessons in. I think the last one that me and Sarah worked on recently has got about 8 lessons in, which is then the oral retell in year 2. And hopefully they provide a nice amount of detail that you can then pick them up and you can see where we were going with them. Most of them follow a similar pattern. So we've tried to think of a hook. Then you go through the story, lots of drama, role play, discussion going on to make sure that the children are engaged. Then we've looked at the structure of the story and sequencing that with story maps or story mountains, different things like that. We've then done some work on basic sentence writing that will link nicely to it, and then we've then brought that together with either their innovation or their retell or whatever it is that we've done as the final bit for each story. So, and then, like I said, they also tie quite nicely into the digital citizenship side of each story. So in Chicken Clicking in reception, it's the sequence of the story, but then we've tied it into recognizing safe and unsafe choices online. Old MacDonald Had a Phone then explores screen time balance. In Goldilocks and Troll Stinks is all to do with the consequences of their online behavior, which lends itself nicely really to what the conversations that should be going on in year 2 in compared to then what we're doing in reception and year 1. We've made lots of resources to go alongside the stories. I say we've used AI quite a bit to help make the story, to make some of the resources, especially when we wanted nice bright images and things like that would help the children to be engaged. Rhymes and songs and things that we wanted to do, and we love a rhyme and a song here at Maindee, especially down in the early years, but sometimes you sit and you're like, oh, I'm a bit stumped, I'm not quite sure what to do. So ChatGPT or CoPilot, we've used both, and that's helped with some nice rhymes and some songs that we can use alongside it, just to really embed those stories into our wider learning. We've also then used tools that we use quite a lot at Maindee due to our additional, like, English as an additional language that lots of our children have that some of schools might not have seen before. So we've planned some new to English lessons using colourful semantics, which we engage with at Maindee. But if you're not familiar with it, hopefully the planning is clear enough that you feel you could pick them up and have a little go. We've used widget symbols that then we use with our ALN learners, but we've also found at Maindee that they're really handy to just use with everyone. So hopefully you'll find that the blend of classroom strategies you might have used before and then some things that you might not have used before tie really nicely together and have created a project that you really feel like you could take and run with. And just the overall, we've really realized that traditionally, obviously, we would have used Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and we probably wouldn't have made those links then to the children's new 21st century digital lives that we probably wouldn't have had to consider quite a few years ago. But the link that we were able to make really, it did make sense, and that it wasn't a really tenuous thing that we were trying to do, and we just treated it like we would have treated any other literacy project really that we would have done with any other story. So like I said, hopefully you've seen how easy, well, I'm telling you it was easy. It took us quite a bit of time, but once we'd done one of the stories, we realized that actually this is like just planning any other literacy genre. If you've got any questions or anything, my email is on the slide at the moment. Sean will, I think, share these out as soon as we've got the final 4 over to him. We did tie them up just this week. I'm just making sure that they all look nice before we send them over. But yeah, hopefully, and I know I've talked really fast, but like I said, I've got a meeting in 3 minutes, so I've done that well. But yeah, hopefully you can all see the possibilities of these, and we'll engage with them as soon as Sean sends them out.